Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the September 10th Raw Review. Now I'm not going to do these in order, especially what happened later in the night, so I'm going to do this out of order, and I'm going to have my thoughts about how these matches and the whole show and how everything came down. So I'm going to do the matches first. We have the first thing is tag team with Kofi and R-Truth against Antonio Cesaro and The Miz. This was a terrible match. This is sad. It made no sense. You have Miz and Antonio Cesaro. You have basically your IC champion and United States champion going against your tag team champion. This is not Night of Champions. It made no sense. They had no rivalry, and the titles for the tag teams were not on the line. It was ridiculous. Kofi and R-Truth won, but guess what? Everyone lost. No one won anything in this match at all. No one got elevated. The heels didn't get elevated. The champs, who were the tag teams, didn't get elevated. It was just empty. The next one is the Divas six-way tag. Really? You have, and this is the weird thing, you have Natalya, you have Alicia Fox, who seems to be still a good guy working with the heels, along with Beth Phoenix. Why would you have a face, which it looks like basically Fox is still a face, the way she was acting, and then she's going up against Eve, Layla, and Caitlyn. And I wish to say with Eve this. Ladies and gentlemen, see it like this. You have a woman who, when she was with John Laurinaitis, made a lot of the segments work in the storyline. Her work behind scenes when they showed her doing things, her talking, making matches, her sex appeal, especially with the dress and the glasses and everything. She has sex appeal, and I wish to say this clearly. There's a difference between a good-looking woman and a woman with sex appeal in wrestling. You got good-looking women, but women with sex appeal, don't make them irrelevant. And this match made Eve irrelevant. It was sad. Eve right now, she had a great momentum when the John Laurinaitis storyline was going. Dropped down. When she came back from being gone for a while, I believe she was doing a shoot or something, was coming back up with Booker T. Wins against Caitlyn. You expect her to be seen more prominently, and a couple of times she's been shown, but then in between it, she's wrestling. It's wrong. It doesn't work. And she's going to become irrelevant very shortly. It's eventually going to happen. You're not going to see her on screen unless they start changing her around. Caitlyn wins. It didn't mean anything. The Divas Championship is still going to be irrelevant. It's just empty. Now, this ties into the rest of what I'm going to say later, but I am going to say it now. You have Punk and Orton. Now, in the early parts of the show, Bret Hart comes out, which got a great response. People loved him. You have Punk come out, basically try to poon him on the mic. Essentially did a decent job. Eventually, you had basically they state later after it happened, and retroactive match was going to be done, where the people can choose Clay, can include Lawler, and basically can choose Orton. Orton was chosen, and I wish this didn't happen. Honestly, because of what happened later in the night, I really wish this didn't happen. But what happened was this: you had Punk and Orton do basically, they can do good matches. They've done average and they've done good matches. This was an average, okay match. The way it ends is Ziggler coming in, attacking Orton. Then Lawler, who was already dressed in his ring attire because he didn't know if he was going to be part of Retroactive, jumps into the ring and starts fighting. And this is where I believe this is the beginning of the end for Lawler. Because later, about a couple of minutes later, we didn't see AJ come out and make the match between Lawler and Orton versus you have Ziggler and you have has CM Punk. I don't know why I went blank. It didn't need to be done. Punk wasn't interested. Ziggler did all the work, and Ziggler was the one who got the pin. It's as simple as that. It just wasn't necessary, particularly what happened later in the night to Jerry. Because I'm sure the main reason he had what he had was because it was finally too much for him. Now next match is Slater and Ryback. Ryback squashed him. Okay with Ryback. I wish to say right now, just because Ryback is still doing really mediocre jobbers doesn't mean they're not still scheduling him to go up the card. He's doing great. The people are really over with his gimmick. They're really over with his theme song. They like him, and I'm happy for him. But Heath Slater, I feel sorry for him. The one-man rock band, baby, really needs better work. I know he has a Twitter war right now with Zack Ryder, and let me make it clear. With Zack Ryder and with Heath Slater, both have gone in different directions, but both are in the same place. Heath Slater, before the 1000 episode, before they started ramping up to it, basically was almost non-existent. By the time of the 1000 episode and a little afterwards, I say now, he's become more interesting. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. I was never a big Heath Slater fan. I hated the guy. I thought he looked like Wendy 2.0. I think they said that in Off the Rope show, and I agree with him. I've seen the Wendy's poster. He looked just like him with the pigtails. But you know what? He is so bad, he's now good. Now, how do I say this clearly to anyone who says, what? I'll say it like this. If anyone has ever seen the old B movies from the 80s and 90s, that some of them were so terrible. Oh my goodness, they had some movies that were just disgusting, and especially science fiction B movies were beyond horrible. But some of them became cult classics because they were so bad, they became good. Heath Slater is not great on the mic. He doesn't really have a great physique. He has no real charisma that much, and he isn't great in the ring. But guess what? Even though he's not great in all those areas, when you squish it all together for him, he actually is decent enough that he could get over. It doesn't matter if it's heel or face. He could get over. But they won't give him someone to work with. They won't give him a storyline that he can do something interesting, even if it has to be funny. And he won't have a rival that's useful or interesting. No one to get him over. That he needs someone who's more senior to him to bring him up. And with Zack Ryder, the same thing. Zack Ryder right now, he was doing great as basically the United States champion. Sorry, I've been busy. I'm a little tired again. The United States champion was doing great. Then the storyline came before he left. He dropped like a stone. And they have not done anything with him. The Long Island IC show he has on YouTube is still keeping him going, but they need to give him something more prominent. This is how they work. Before the 1000th episode of Raw, roughly speaking. When the 1000th episode of Raw happened, this is what happened. Slater came up because he was facing the legends, and Zack Ryder came down because he had almost nothing to do. They're here. They are dead even. They have nothing to do. They both need two different people who are more prominent to help them come up, and they're not there. Now I wish to say next that the next match, which really did not need to happen, ADR versus Tyson Kidd. I can understand they're in Montreal. I can understand Tyson Kidd was trained in the Heart Dungeon. I can understand that people want to see something of the Heart next to Natalya because David Hart Smith is not there anymore. But really did not need this match because both participants didn't look like they wanted to do it. Tyson Kidd did a lot of botches. ADR did a lot of botches. In fact, when it came near the end, with Tyson Kidd putting on the sharpshooter, everyone started screaming and yelling, and they were happy for a brief moment, but then Tyson Kidd starts botching up the sharpshooter. Really? He knows how to put a sharpshooter on, and he botches it in one of the most prominent places in Canada. Are you serious? It's sad. ADR wins with a cross arm breaker, but I can say with this, after afterward, when he got on the mic, he almost basically saved it. But he couldn't save all the match. Out of the 100%, he saved it maybe about 40%. Because he talking on the mic about Sheamus and how he's going to get him, that was good. At least good enough to get him over. Now, the final match before the last one, and I'll talk about that one last. Next things, we're going to talk about promo segments after this. But the final match I'm going to talk about that doesn't involve what's going on with Lawler is Ray and Cody. Ray and Cody. I've heard people say that it's good that Cody's helping Sin Cara. I think I heard one person say that he's not going to be too badly hurt about it. And I can understand what they're saying. I can't remember who said it. But essentially they did say it, and they were right. At first, Cody was really doing all right, and Cody's here, Sin Cara's here. Sin Cara would come up like this, Cody would stay where he is. But the way they had been basically booking Cody, he's been jobbing. And he went from here to here. Sin Cara went up a little bit here. He came down here. And right now, the way things are going, I have a feeling that they're about to stick the strap of the IC title back on Cody. Because the Miz comes in during the match because it looked like that Cody might have been getting the edge. But essentially speaking, Miz interferes with that. Messes over Ray because the match is going to be at Night of Champions, and then Cody gives the crossroads to the Miz. That makes me think it might be a three-way. It might actually be a three-way at Night of Champions. This is sad. Cody deserves better. Cody should have been put into the title picture for the simple fact that after he lost to Christian and Christian had the title, he should have been thrusted into the big league, and he wasn't. And I'm afraid they're going to keep him basically at the IC title level. If he even is put into the match, and that's if he wins. If he doesn't win, I believe Cody's going to continue jobbing a lot. There's no way the Ray's going to lose every match. And there's no way they're going to let Sin Cara lose. They want him over enough so Ray and Sin Cara can have a match eventually. They need this because they're the only luchadors they got in the company. And Ray is reaching near the point where, I'm not saying he's retiring now. He's almost near 40. He's a little bit younger than me. He's not retiring now. But they can't keep Ray out there all the time. He has a lot of knee injuries. So they're going to have to bring Sin Cara up. So they need Sin Cara to take the torch from Ray. So Ray is now permanently pushed so hard because they have Ray do a lot of work. Okay. Now we're going to backstage stuff. Now, already talked about how Bret Hart and CM Punk were worked out, and the match that was seen, which was Punk versus Orton. I'm going to talk about what comes next. You have Heyman and Punk right after the match with Lawler, Ziggler, and Orton. And when, I think it was Matt Striker, came to them and said, Heyman, what are you doing there? Why is Heyman with you? And he was talking to CM Punk. Heyman says nothing. CM Punk says, I'm a Paul Heyman man. Or a guy, sorry. I'm a Paul Heyman guy. And they walk off. I can say that was a good segment. If now they're going to use Heyman as Punk's manager, I believe that was a good move. Because Punk needs him. It would have been, hopefully they'll have it more prominently featured later. But at this moment, it was good. The next part was the Kane and Daniel Bryan segments. Two of them. The first one is when both of them were called and both of them were told they either one of them wanted to apologize. And when they were in the room together and they saw their doctor, I admit it was funny a little bit. And the doctor with AJ saying basically we have a way to either help you both become friends or both fall into the 7 depths of hell. And that is what's going to lead into the next, well, not to what I'm going to say yet. But I will repeat this. I'm going to repeat this same thing later. But I'm going through most of these segments. Next, you have, oh, I forgot one match. I think I said it. No, I did not. Sheamus and Dave Otunga, just in case I did forget this, Sheamus and David Otunga match. There was a quick match. Sheamus used the Texas Cloverleaf to beat Otunga. And the reason this match happened, and I'm combining them both, is because at the branch of the WWE, you had the Sheamus and David Otunga deposition segment, which was very good. It made me laugh, especially talking about Sheamus being Jewish-Irish. And I loved the fight, and I loved the kick-offs. It was funny stuff. That was good. But going back to the match, just in case I didn't say it, Sheamus wins by the Texas Cloverleaf, and then Bro kicks him after the match. Now, two things happen. You have AJ come out and look like she was going to ban Sheamus from using Bro kick, which wouldn't make sense. But since Sheamus is under Booker T comes out and basically shuts down AJ, which was a good segment. I like that part. I love that part. For the simple fact, you have to have authority. Having the authority of SmackDown, tell a SmackDown guy to do it instead of the Raw GM was a nice touch. And when Sheamus was facing Booker T basically said this: Sheamus, I haven't finished my investigation. Because of what you've done, if you bro kick anybody at any time during a match or afterwards, anyone, I will strip you. Now this leaves a lot of wiggle room for something. You never know if he's going to do this during Night of Champions. If he blows this. If he does, it would leave the door open for Alberto Del Rio, as well as Dolph Ziggler, as well as Randy Orton. I don't know what will happen in that, but it would be good to see Sheamus possibly lose it by Bro kick. Not lose it by losing the ADR. I think if he loses by using the Bro kick without realizing it, it'll actually make it more interesting, especially if Sheamus become a little stale. Now, let me see. This is it. I'm going to go by this last match. As I said before, with Daniel Bryan and Kane, when they found out they were going up against the Primetime Players, and the Primetime Players had their little thing, and I can understand them losing their position, especially without AW. They just aren't strong enough yet. And putting Daniel Bryan and Kane into it, I'm not too fond that it happened, but it makes sense. And the match of Daniel Bryan, Kane, and the Primetime Players, this is where it happens. It's about 7 minutes into the match. Now the match is not bad. The Primetime Players are doing a decent job. You can hear Jerry Lawler breathing deeply and heavily in the background. And when they switched the camera over him and slumped over in a seat, that's when people started noticing something going wrong. And you could hear the crowd in the back begin to yell, Jerry. Now, the thing I like to say now, and I'm going to say this very clearly, I have not been a big fan of Michael Cole. I'm not. I've noticed in the last 2 years, since I've been able to see really more prominent wrestling, due to my situation, I couldn't see much wrestling because I couldn't afford cable. I've been so much in trouble with debt. I've been able to see stuff now online. Most of it anyway. And I've noticed Michael Cole really doesn't do a good job on the mic. He doesn't treat the heels right. He doesn't treat the faces right. And he'll kiss the ass of the people that he likes. That always pissed me off, and I didn't like Michael Cole. But in this, I'm going to say this clearly, in this situation, I commend him. Once Jerry collapsed and they took him in the back, Michael Cole either being screamed at to continue doing the work, he did that. He called that match and the ADR and Tyson Kidd match after that. And when it came down to it, I believe it was disgusting what the WWE did after that. But the simple fact is this. With Owen Hart in 1999 in the house show, I believe, when he died, they didn't even want to acknowledge it, most of it. And when they did, they said, we're going to keep going on with the show, which was a stupid, flawed idea. Macho Man Randy Savage, when he died, he should have gone into the Hall of Fame. There is no reason why he shouldn't have gone in. They had enough room to do it. They could have called someone who knew him. They could have called Hulk Hogan, because if they could get Ric Flair to join the Horsemen to do it, they could have gotten Hulk Hogan to do it, because he was very close with him. Could have done it. This was wrong. The show was so empty without commentary. It was disgusting. And when Michael Cole came out, before he did the announcements of how Jerry was, and said, I'm sorry, because of what happened, we are not going to do any more commentary out of respect for my partner, Jerry Lawler. I believe like the Off the Rope show does. And I wish to say this, I didn't see this Raw. I had to see the repeat of it later. I had to see it later, because I was doing my No Surrender review. By the time I finished it, because after I did whatever I had to do that day, and it was almost 11 hours of tedious stuff, believe me, you wouldn't want to go through what I went through. But when I came home, I went straight into watching the No Surrender review and reviewing it so I could get it ready before Raw was over. And I wish to say, I didn't know how hard it is to review something if you didn't see it, and make sure you have notes. If anyone who's ever done these things, sometimes you have to have notes so you don't lose track. And when I first started doing these videos, I lost track of a lot of stuff because I didn't write down notes. And I realized I need notes. So I keep track of as much as I can from what I watch. And I can say this. This, I didn't know. By the time I finished, it was like 10:30. And I didn't watch the rest of the Raw. I decided I was going to see it the next day. But I decided I wanted to know what everyone else said, because I wanted to understand what was going on that Raw. So the people I've always said I watch is the British Fist and the Off the Rope show. They are two great shows. And when I watched first the British Fist around 12 o'clock, I believe, and I didn't watch all of it because when they started talking about Jerry, I said, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I should check the Off the Rope show if they did anything like this. And luckily for me, the Off the Rope show was done after 12:30 or near 1 o'clock, because I think I saw the British Fist about 12:20. And I saw they started talking about the same thing, and I saw everything they said before I finished watching the British Fist. And they were so disgusted about this Raw. It wasn't just about how bad the matches were, and the matches are terrible. Almost every match here was terrible, literally. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did good work, some of them, but the entire show was just a mess. Without what happened to Jerry having a heart attack, and I found out earlier, before I did this video, that Jerry did have a heart attack. He's at a Montreal local hospital, and they said he's doing well on their website. They didn't give any more information. I would have liked if they said, we have our love and our hope for him. They did say we hope that the WWE Universe or the fans give their prayers for him. I would have liked them to be more personal about it, saying we love Jerry, he's always been very special to us. And the one that did that was Michael Cole, and I'm sorry, that's just cold. It was empty. And the British Fist and the Off the Rope show, they're right. This show felt empty after what happened with Jerry. They should have had commentators there. They put Michael Cole in a very painful and stressful situation. He's terrified about his friend. And let's be honest, even though that storylines show they're not totally liking each other, they are friends. All of those people are pretty much friends with one another. And seeing your friend like that, it's terrifying. It is. And they should have brought someone out there to replace him, or at least be there for him out there. He was by himself. After the ADR Tyson Kidd match, he was still out there. And eventually he stopped talking when he started doing his announcement. You have, see it like this, Booker T, even though he is a GM, under this situation, could have came out there. You could have had Triple H come out there. You could have had Josh Matthews come out there. You could have had Matt Striker come out there. You could have had the commentary team for NXT or Superstars. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, they do this within 2 days, but most of the crew is still there from all the shows. SmackDown's the next day, but guess what? NXT and all those people are also there too. They watch. They could have called anyone out there to help Michael Cole or replace him. They didn't. I condemn I flat out condemned the WWE, what they did. And when Michael Cole came out later, around the second to the third, telling about what happened to Jerry, I believe, just like the Slug Daddy said, he decided not to go out there. He was too badly shaken, and he didn't have to do that. And I agree with you, Slug Daddy. This was wrong. They should have put other people out there to do the job instead of expecting him to do it and screaming in his ear. I've heard the stories of how sometimes they make them do that. Look at what happened at a house show in 1999 with Owen Hart. They told those people they had to keep working instead of just postponing it and doing another time and letting the people come back for free. The WWE, I hate them for this. I'm sure they're going to do a good show on Night of Champions, but this was disgusting. And I say for Michael Cole, and I don't agree with you all the time, Michael Cole. If you're watching this, you have my respect. I give you props for showing a lot of courage, and it's very it upsets me to see something like that, because I had a friend who had a heart attack. So I know, and even my somewhat called father, he had a heart attack, and I've seen triple bypass. It's ugly. So I commend him for what he did. Now, this is the last segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen. You have Cena, you have Bret Hart, and you have Punk at the end of the show. This was damn good. Both the Off the Rope show and the British Fist agree, and I agree with them. When you had Cena and Hart out there talking, and Cena was complimenting Bret Hart, and the crowd was not totally into it. And later, when he was complimenting enough that people finally got it, that he wasn't trying to be a phony, they got it. It was good. And when CM Punk came out and did his segment, he did a good job talking about him and talking about Shawn Michaels being better than both of them. But when it came to John Cena, doing his part of that segment, it was damn good. I say right now clearly that this is what's going to bring in the people 90 champions. He saved most of that show. I'm saying this clearly. The Sheamus skit was good. The Daniel Bryan stuff was so-so. But this is what saved the show. And honestly, I've heard, I think British Fist and the Off the Rope show, they both reasonably said that he was shooting from the hip. Now, I agree with them, but I think a little bit more than that. I've heard that Cena and Cole are very good friends, along with Lawler. They're very close, Cena and Cole. And how they treated Cole, I believe Cena was talking a little more off the hip than normal, because he probably felt that Cole was treated really badly. So I'm going to be a little more rougher with CM Punk to show the brass in the back that it is wrong when you treat people bad. So I'm going to call out CM Punk on most of what he actually does and what actually goes on in the back with the politics. I believe that's what really happened. That's the reason why he was that passionate. And with CM Punk, I could actually see CM Punk getting actually a little pissed off about what Cena did. And I bet you he told him he was going to do something like this. And don't be surprised if he's going to show a little more roughness with him. And CM Punk, to his credit, he did a good job to deal with it. So I wish to say that this is leading up to Night of Champions well. And I will do a prediction if I can about Night of Champions. I'll try and get as much information about this, but I'm going to tell you my grade for this, and I'm going to be honest. Only one thing saved this, and that was that segment at the end of the show. This is a D show. How they treated Lawler, who is a 60-plus-year-old man who's been working his ass off for the last 2 or 3 months, having to go in the ring when he shouldn't be doing that. The matches themselves, sloppy and meaningless. And honestly, how Cole was treated and should have been replaced by anyone in the back who could do commentary. It could have been the people from NXT who is the most inexperienced. This is a D show, almost bordering on F. But the reason it's a D show is the work that CM Punk and Cena did. They did a good job. Cena almost blew the house down with his with his speech. Honestly, it was that good. And that's the reason why it's a D show. And that's sad, but it's the truth. And if you wanted to know what it would be like if Jerry Lawler had not had a heart attack, it would have been a C show. With CM Punk and with Cena, it would have made it a C+ show if they didn't have that. I say with Cena, it was a C+ show without the heart attack. With the heart attack, it is a D to almost D-. But I say D because of what happened with Cena. So I hope you like this Zane's view. Subscribe and comment. I would really like a comment on this. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I've done 20 some odd videos. I'm still very new at this. I have a tendency to get very nervous and even botch my words. And I wish to say that I commend the people who do these videos. I didn't know how hard it was to do videos. I knew they had to prepare for it unless they just do it. But it's difficult doing this stuff. So to the British Fist and the Off the Rope Show, dudes, you got my respect. I don't know if you would have respect for me because I am a newbie at this, and I know I'm still a bit sloppy. And if you don't have respect for me, I understand. I probably have to earn it. But I give you my respect. Mr. Ralph, Metal D, I'm not sure about what's going on with the Mantathlon, but Mr. Ralph, Tasters Tony King, the Slug Daddy, you got my respect. And for NJ and Mr. Parkin, you also have my respect. Your shows are good, and you helped me to do this. Thank you. And for everyone else, have a good day.